Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for our national anthem. Shh. 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 Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for our national anthem, performed today by 23-year-old Victoria Velez from San Jose.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming. And the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
You're amazing. Victoria, that was beautiful, just like I taught you. Shh. Shh. Today would not be possible without the strong support. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to ask for your attention, please. Thank you. Please take your seats. Please take your seats. In 7 minutes, we're going to have mix and mingle time. You can do it. For 7 minutes, may I have your attention? Today would not be possible without the strong support of co-title sponsors Alaska Airlines, Bank of America, Sandhill Property, and more than 100 pillar and table sponsors. We're humbled by your support. We're also honored to have with us today 119 elected and appointed officials with whom we work each day to make our region, state, and nation a better place. If you're one of those 119 public officials, please stand and stay standing for a moment. Please stand and stay standing. Now, if you would, and I'm going to ask everyone to be seated. I know who each of you are, and I will start calling you out. Senator Jim Bell. Senator Jim Bell, I know you'll find your seat. You unhand him, sir. Thank you. Please welcome to the stage one of today's co-title sponsors, the President and COO of Alaska Airlines, Ben Minicucci.
Well, hello, everyone. Is it working? Hello, everyone. My name is Ben Minicucci. I am the President and Chief Operating Officer for Alaska Airlines and SVLG board member. We're honored to be part of the SVLG annual luncheon, and I want to start by thanking Carl and the entire leadership group for really...
I'm sorry, Ben. Please, at my home, we're polite to all of our guests. Shh. Shh. Thank you, Ben Minicucci.
Thanks, Carl. I think everyone is just so excited to be here and wants to just chat with everyone. So I'll be quick. So yeah, thanks to Carl and the leadership group for really a great year on recent policy achievements, from securing funding for the electrification of Caltrain to the passing of Measure B. And a warm welcome to Mayors Lee, Liccardo, Faulkner, and Secretary Padilla. Well, 2017 has been quite a busy year for Alaska and Virgin America. You probably heard we're doing this little integration of both airlines. We're 11 months into the integration. Overall, we're really, really pleased with the progress. By January of 18, we'll be under one airline certificate, which means under the eyes of the FAA, we'll be one airline. And by May of 18, we'll be under one reservation system, which means under the eyes of our customers, we'll be one airline. We'll start painting airplanes, reconfiguring interiors in 2018 and 2019, and we should be complete by then. So a lot of work being done. And our goal is, throughout this integration, is to earn your business and create an airline people love. I hope you've had a chance to fly us and experience our product, our service, and our low fares. Our long-term strategy is to fly where you want to go, and we're especially excited with our growth out of San Jose. Thank you, Sam and Director Aiken. We've added a few cities like Austin and Newark, and of course we have our perennial favorites to the Hawaiian Islands, which everyone loves. And in 2017 alone, we've added 40 new routes out of the Bay Area, so we're really, really excited about our growth there. Great service matters a lot to us, and delivering a remarkable experience for our guests is our #1 priority. I've got a couple of tables of Alaska folks there, and we would never, we have the absolute, just phenomenal employees at both airlines. They're the ones who actually help us win great awards. For 10 straight years at Alaska, we've won J.D. Power for highest in customer satisfaction among traditional carriers. And at Virgin, for 10 years in a row, we've won Travel and Leisure for the best domestic airline, and 10 years in a row, the Condé Nast for the best U.S. airline. So that can't be done without great people. So just a huge, huge thank you to our employees. We also know people want low fares. To have low fares, you need low costs, and that's exactly what we're focused on. As a point of interest, our fares are 20% lower than our legacy, than legacy airlines, and in line with our low-cost carriers. Lastly, at Alaska, we believe it's very important for us to be part of the community. And it's as part of our commitment to you is we promise to partner with great organizations to improve the quality of life in the South Bay. We're lucky, one of our favorite partner organizations is Nature Bridge, which educates students about environmental literacy. And today, we're lucky to have with us Shannon Reynolds and Leticia Ochoa. Raise your hands, Shannon and Leticia. Where are you? They're over there? They are teachers at Stonegate Elementary in San Jose, and Alaska Airlines and Stonegate and Nature Bridge have partnered to bring these 8th graders to Yosemite National Park for their first time in December. Isn't that cool? All right, Carl, I'm going to get their attention with this last piece. All right, so this is really important because in partnering with SVLG, we are going to give...
You won't want to miss this.
Yeah.
Because it's in your best interest.
There are 2 first-class round-trip tickets. You see how that quiets down? 2 first-class round-trip tickets that are going to be awarded to a lucky person by the end of the program. And Carl says if you talk too much, you're going to be excluded, right?
And you must be present.
And you must be present. So thanks again for your time. Thank you for flying Alaska and Virgin, and enjoy your lunch.
Thank you, Ben, for 6 years, our airport task force at the leadership group has worked closely with San Jose International to better ensure more direct international and domestic flights in and out of San Jose. It has meant a hand-in-glove partnership with former Mayor Chuck Reed, current Mayor Sam Liccardo, and the stellar leadership at the airport. To share a little bit of our progress in working together, please welcome San Jose International's new Director of Aviation, John Aiken. John?
Thank you, Carl. Thank you for giving me a couple minutes today to talk about the exciting things that are happening at Mineta San Jose International Airport. There's supposed to be a great graphic on the screen. So we've grown quite a bit over the last 2 years. San Jose International Airport was named the fastest growing airport in the nation for the last 2 years. We added 33% more seat capacity with our airline partners, and we've grown our passenger numbers by 33% also. We've grown our airlines from 9 airlines to 16 airlines, and our nonstop destinations from 29 nonstop destinations to 51, including multiple international destinations. There's a brochure on some of the tables, and if you don't have one, they'll be at the end. At the end of the meeting, they'll be outside. I'd like to thank the leadership group and Carl and the mayor for working together with the staff to build business plans, to work with our airline partners, to get them to invest in Silicon Valley and at San Jose International Airport. And I'd also like to thank the leadership group member companies for utilizing the service and making our flights successful so that the flights are profitable and the airlines can continue to invest in San Jose International Airport. So again, thank you, Carl.
John, thank you. Now, feel free to walk around the cabin for the next 15 minutes to say hello to your fellow passengers. We're going to resume our program at 12:28. And as you do enjoy your lunch, please join me in thanking our hardworking wait staff here at the Convention Center. We wanted to make sure and provide a full hour of networking time before we started today. We're trying to get much better at the leadership group of providing that coveted networking time. Shh. I'm going to ask you all right now to return to your seats. I'll wait. Thank you. My name's Carl Guardino. I have the honor and pleasure of serving as CEO of the Silicon Valley Leadership Group for these past 21 years. And I can't tell you how heartening that is that actually got applause. Thank you. We'll take that as my performance evaluation this year. We have with us today 1,230 people, leaders in Silicon Valley. We know that because we had to cut off registration last week because that's the fire marshal limit of this space. That includes 200 CEOs and C-suite officers, 120 at our world's longest head table. It includes 119 elected and appointed leaders. We are so honored and humbled that you're here. And every one of you is important. There is one person in this room who is most important. You're wondering who that is? Her name is Eliza Patton. Eliza Patton is our timekeeper today. Eliza, will you please stand and be recognized? Eliza's going to help each of our speakers. Eliza, please demonstrate. When our speakers have 30 seconds left in their allotted time, well above her head, just one card. Hold the one card. There we go. We did not rehearse. You'll notice on both sides of the sign, turn it, it says 30 seconds on both sides. Speakers, you'll know you have 30 seconds. The audience will know you only have 30 seconds. When time is up, hold it high, both sides. And if they're particularly enthusiastic, what do they get? let it go. And that includes me, doesn't it, Eliza? What do you most value about Silicon Valley's innovation economy? Shh. For me, it's the unity we celebrate in our diversity. With so much angry rhetoric emanating from our nation's capital, often at the expense of immigrants who have come at great risk to our country, we believe Silicon Valley offers a different voice. While far from perfect, with so much progress still to be made, we're still a region that honors, respects, values, and celebrates diversity. At the Silicon Valley Leadership Group, it is tied into every aspect of our work. To do so, we want to enhance that work by seeking your support today. At each of your seats, please locate and lift up this small trifold entitled Investments That Ignite Innovation and Inclusion. Can you find that and lift it up with me? Can you find that? Thank you. We are seeking your support today in one of 5 different ways. Please consider contributing to some of the ways the Leadership Group and our Leadership Group Foundation support our diverse community. Take off the gold band around that trifold and open it up. Those 5 ways: through our Young Women's Leadership Summit on December 1st, our STEM with Mayor Sam initiative, paid internships for foster kids, Housing Trust Silicon Valley, and the Healthier Kids Foundations. The investments we're going to ask you to consider today range from $100 to $15,000. Let's learn more about each of these 5 opportunities. Join me in welcoming the mayor of the 10th largest city in the United States of America, the Honorable Sam Liccardo.
Thank you, Carl. Friends, today we live in one valley, but in 2 worlds. And all too often, the boundaries between those worlds are defined by race. About 30% of us in this valley are Latino. Yet of the tech professionals working at our leading companies in the valley, only 3% are Latino. We can do better. If we don't expand the interests and boost the skills of our valley's diverse public school students in math, science, coding, or engineering, their considerable potential will be lost, and their futures and ours will be dimmed. Even worse, they could end up in law school like I did. So by launching STEM with Mayor Sam, the Silicon Valley Leadership Group is providing 2 additional hours of STEM-focused instruction to hundreds of low-income students enrolled in summer math programs in the Franklin McKinley School District. This year, we're looking to expand the impact and also expand to coding camps with a goal to enable 5,000 students in our least affluent neighborhoods to receive coding instruction each year. Please join our STEM with Mayor Sam initiative. Your investment will lift the aspirations and expand the opportunities of our brightest students. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Liccardo. Let's now learn more about our Healthier Kids Foundation with just one of the 100,000 plus families who have benefited from their services. Please join me in welcoming Vina Fisher, and on the screen, her granddaughter, Serenity. Vina Fisher.
Good afternoon, everyone. Hello. I'm so honored and find it to be a great pleasure to have been asked to speak to you on behalf of the Healthier Kids Foundation and through the help of the Silicon Valley Leadership Group Foundation. My name is Vina Fisher, and I am a grandmother raising my grandchildren. I have had to go through so many basketball games and doctor's appointments and football games and violin concerts, and I'm like, okay, Lord, let me hurry up. But when I get a break to come to a luncheon, honey, I'm coming. Okay. I just want to just give you a little story here. Serenity was going to school, and the Healthier Kids Foundation came and gave a screening. I had no idea that Serenity needed glasses. It was explaining to me why Serenity had to get glasses, because she was so close to the TV, and she was squinching, and she couldn't see. And one day, the Healthier Kids Foundation came to her school, and they gave her a screening. And I'm like, okay. And so then the school gave me the vision screening results sheet test, but they didn't explain it to me. So the Healthier Kids Foundation came and called me, and the case manager, Denise, explained the sheet to me for her vision. And she told me, Serenity needs glasses. And I'm like, my Serenity? She says, yes. And I'm like, okay. And I had to turn to her and say, oh, baby, that's why you couldn't see. Okay, I'm sorry. So they got up, and she came, and she made sure that I was able to get the help I needed, because I didn't know where to take Serenity to for her, a little girl her age. She found me an optometrist. She made sure we got to the appointment. She made sure the doctors were okay in giving her the examination, and Serenity was all right with this. They made sure that my babies was okay. Not only did they do dental work, but they did the glasses too. And I was like, thank you, because I sure couldn't do it by myself. So I wanted to just say thank you for all the help from the Silicon Valley Leadership Group Foundation, who helps with the Healthier Kids Foundation to do the work that they do, because without them, we couldn't get this. And these kids need your help. So please help them, okay? Thank you so much.
Vina Fisher, thank you for telling us about you and Serenity. We're going to ask to come forward to please join me at the microphone. First, the impact. Vina and Serenity are one example. Through the Leadership Group Foundation's partnership, that has been 66 vision screenings, 19,000 hearing screenings, 30,000 screenings. Through our applied Silicon Valley Turkey Trot Foundation to the Healthier Kids Foundation, totaling $1,577,600. Thank you, Vina. To give the perspective of the impact of our housing trust, Silicon Valley, so capably led by Kevin Zwick, please welcome Maria Jimenez.
Hello, everyone. I am thankful to be here today to share with you a little bit about my perspective in affordable housing. I was born in Texas, but I was raised in Mexico, and when I came back to the United States when I was 13 years old, I lived with my parents and two of my sisters. All five of us actually share one room until I was 18. And I remember feeling really bad because the way we lived, we didn't have access to all the areas of that house, and getting ready for school and all that, it was such a hassle. And I remember that not having liberty and not having the privacy, it was a very suffocating experience. And when I became a mother, I remember feeling bad because I didn't want my kids to actually have those same memories that I had as a child. And so I was very fortunate to find affordable housing that truly, truly changed my life and my kids' life. And in my career today as a property manager in Met North Apartments, a property that the Housing Trust helped to finance through their lending programs, I am actually blessed to see how affordable housing actually changes the family's life, and it changes the future in their kids' life. I'm very thankful that I have the opportunity to see how affordable housing changes and gives them another opportunity, and so they can have a place that they can call it home. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Maria, thank you for being with us today. Let's look at that impact. The Housing Trust has invested $145 million to date, but that has leveraged $2.6 billion in private development, 15,490 housing opportunities to 27,640 people like Maria in our region. Through our partnership, through our Applied Materials Silicon Valley Turkey Trot, we've been able to support the Housing Trust to date with $2,134,100. Maria, thank you again. It's my pleasure to share a bit about hiring foster kids for paid summer internships. Please write down this number, 1,440. 15 months ago, my wife Leslie and I listened to a presentation by a group called Foster the Bay and learned at that time that there were 1,440 foster kids in Santa Clara County alone who lack a permanent placement. In the United States, we have 400,000 foster kids. California, 50,000. Please hear me. These are not bad kids. Rather, these are kids that have often had incredibly bad things happen to them. Here is their reality. 1 in 3 foster kids will have been homeless by age 19. 57 of every 100 foster kids will have spent time in jail by age 19. 48 of every 100 foster girls will have become pregnant by 18 years old. 80% of the inmates in the United States prison system were foster kids. 1 of 2 foster kids won't earn a high school diploma. Only 3 out of every 100 will earn a college degree. And while 9 of every 10 California kids have access to a computer for school, and 8 of every 10 poor kids have that access, only 2 out of 10 foster kids have access to a computer. Enraged? The good news is we can become engaged. First, you can join us in buying refurbished computers for a foster kid for only $300. Last year, Leslie and I bought 4. My 84-year-old mom on a fixed income bought 1. Second, you can help us ensure foster kids gain the job and office skills in meaningful company environments with paid internships to place them on a successful career path in a job that doesn't say, "Would you like fries with that?" Here's Danny, 17 years old, a high school senior dual-tracked at De Anza College, and a paid leadership group intern last summer. We want to hire this summer 4 more Dannys. For $3,500 per student, you can underwrite a foster internship through the life-changing efforts of Teen Force. Or finally, you can be as crazy as me and Leslie. Meet Jacob. He's the cute one on the bottom. August 31, 2016, Jacob was born here in Santa Clara County, the 8th child of a homeless woman here in our community, all 8 in the foster care system. Relinquished in the hospital at 1 day old with crystal meth and fetal alcohol syndrome in his system. At 3 months old, Jacob came into our lives. We received permanent placement at 6 months, and on August 25 of this year, we celebrated with family and friends as our permanent adoption was complete. He is now Jacob Zachary Guardino, or Jake to his friends. We're going to send around a clipboard for babysitters. Today, for a small contribution, you can ensure kids like Danny and Jake are successes, not statistics. Invest in a computer for a foster kid. Invest in a summer internship at the leadership group. Invest in a foster child. It's like a stock that will pay dividends for their entire lifetimes. Thank you. Now please welcome my colleague, Alicia Cisneros.
Thank you so much for that introduction, Carl, and I am so excited to talk with all of you here today about our 8th annual Young Women's Leadership Summit. Meeting or exceeding 8th grade math standards is the single most accurate bellwether determining who persists into a STEM education and then into a career and who does not. Test scores show that young women of color face additional obstacles to achieving a STEM education. It is of no surprise that only 26% of our tech workforce are women. This creates a vicious cycle. The students of today cannot aspire to be someone that they have never seen before. To begin to address some of these barriers, this year, we will bring together 6 underserved middle schools with industry, inviting many successful women in STEM careers to act as mentors, seated at every table amongst the young women that we'll have there. The women will be able to see themselves in these mentors and ultimately realize that a career in STEM is attainable. The highlight of the day is always the STEM activity, and they have an opportunity to work hands-on, facilitated by the mentors, on an engineering project. This year, we're going to emphasize the collaborative nature of innovation. We will always bring the program back to what is relevant in the young women's lives. They will guide the conversation and help us figure out how we can help them achieve what they set out to do. For some of these young women that we will serve at the Young Women's Leadership Summit, this will be the catalyst that will bring them into a STEM career, and we are so honored to be part of that journey. Thank you so much.
It's easy to support worthy causes. As Carl mentioned earlier in the program, there is a pamphlet at your seat entitled Investments That Ignite Innovation and Inclusion. Take hold of that card. Now all you need is your cell phone, and you're ready to support a worthy cause of your choice. Alexandria will now take you through the steps.
Okay, folks, to donate to a cause of your choice is an easy 3-step process. First, you all have the cards there at your table. Identify the program to which you would like to donate. At the bottom of each page is a code for your donation. You then text the code of your choice to 1-855-735-2437. You should receive a confirmation text with a link to set up your payment. Once you have that link, your donation amount and a digital receipt will be sent to your phone. Thank you for providing investments to ignite inclusion and innovation and for supporting our community. Carl, back to you.
Peter and Alexandria, thank you, and thank all of you for joining us today. I mentioned there are 1,230 people with us today. We need at least 137 of your help. We need 100 of you to consider a contribution of just $100 so that we can bring 100 more middle school girls to Juniper Networks on December 1 for our Young Women's Leadership Summit. That's 100. I'll come back to that. We need 30 of you to continue to expand that goal of Mayor Liccardo for 5,000 folks having intense summer math instruction through STEM with Mayor Sam that Verizon is our key champion on. Thank you, Eric Reed. We need 4 of you to consider a $3,500 contribution each so that we can have 3-month internships for 4 more foster youth in Silicon Valley this summer. And we need 2 of you to step up and help us with Healthier Kids Foundation, Housing Trust Silicon Valley, and the other beneficiaries of our Applied Materials Silicon Valley Turkey Trot so that we can fund those vital programs. That's 2 contributions at $15,000. So this is the audience participation portion of our day, and I may fall flat on my face, but it's okay because these kids are worth it. By a show of hands, and then we're going to need you to actually type it in, can I see at least 100 hands of 100 people who will contribute? I see hands already that will contribute for our Young Women's Leadership Summit. Some of our executives, remember, we'll need your hands for when the prices go up later. And I see about 30 hands. If you're enjoying your lunch, just the lunch itself was $82.18, and you probably didn't pay for it. So can I see more hands towards that 100? Thank you. Now please start typing in the information. We're going to put it back on the screen. Can I see at least 30 hands for STEM with Mayor Sam towards that goal of coding? Mayor Sam raised his hand. That's good. That's leadership by example. I see that he poked Greg Becker in the ribs, so Greg is stepping up too, as is Tom Werner. Thank you. I think I saw 30 hands. Thank you so much. Third, we need 4 of you. We need 4 of you. We want 4 foster kids in our organization this year, teaching them real job skills. Marimo Burke, thank you. Oh my goodness. Doug Merritt, CEO of Splunk. Art Tachias, CEO of Synopsys. We have 1 more foster kid we want to place. 1 more. Oh, there's a hand? Oh my goodness, thank you. I can't even see it. That looks like Susan Powell. Is that? Excellent. We have 4 foster kids. Please type it in. And please, we need 2 of you to continue the amazing leveraged work of the Housing Trust and the Healthier Kids Foundation, Second Harvest Food Bank, as well as the Health Trust, the beneficiaries of our Silicon Valley Turkey Trot. We are 30,000 away from our sponsorship goal. That's why we're cutting it in half. 2 at 15,000. We'll brand you as mile marker sponsors along the course. Do we have hands? Can we have a couple of organizations and entities to consider mile marker sponsors? I'm not going to belabor the point. I want to thank all of you, and I hope it's not limited to 137 volunteers as you type that in. Thank you so much for your support. But we're celebrating diversity, immigration, and inclusion today. We've asked 4 folks to take no more than 90 seconds to share their stories. If we could please ask to come to the mic the managing partner of Ernst & Young. Ibby?
My name is Ibi Kukrubo, and I'm managing partner of Ernst & Young here in San Jose. I was born in Los Angeles and grew up in Nigeria between the ages of 3 and 17. I went to college at The Ohio State University and appreciated the opportunity to come to the United States because it's always been a place where you can be successful regardless of where you started. I'm currently managing partner of our office at EY in San Jose, where I lead almost 1,000 people towards our goal of providing exceptional client service and our purpose of building a better working world. One of the many ways we do this is with our Entrepreneur of the Year program, through which we identify and recognize leaders who are the backbone of our economy. And we've been doing that for over 30 years. At EY, we believe the highest performing teams maximize the power of different opinions, different perspectives, and cultural agility. As a result, our commitment to diversity and inclusion is critical to how we serve our clients, how we develop our people, and play a leadership role in the communities we serve. And we're honored to have been recognized as the #1 company for diversity and inclusion by Diversity Inc. this past year.
Good afternoon. My name is Najat Al Badriye, founder and CEO of Naprotec Inc., an EMS corporation providing rapid NPI and small production services to the U.S. innovator, both based domestically and globally. Born and raised in Tripoli, North Lebanon, I fled the civil war, joining my sister in the U.S. in 1977, where I met my husband and got married. I had no idea this series of events would lead to a turning point in my life, as also be the beginning of my first job in the Silicon Valley. During my first few years, I acquired strong expertise in development of surface mount technology and building the printed circuit board assembly for various manufacturers, especially commercial home computers. In time, I challenged myself as well to take my career in another turn. I quit my job and started my own company. That company is Naprotec, which provides jobs to 68 families in the Valley. I'm proud of the fact that 50% of our employees have been in the company for more than 15 years. Another fact that at Naprotec, we are all believer our success came from that diversity. 90% of our employees are immigrants, came from 10 different countries. We educate our employees and offer the new student in the Silicon Valley training and a summer job to have a good opportunity in the future. Thank you.
My name is Peter Powell. My company is Sandhill Property Company. It's an evil real estate developer. I was born in Shanghai, and when I was very young, my father left us to work in Hong Kong. My mother then applied for a visa to follow him, but it was denied. So, seeing a very dark future for us, she decided that she would smuggle her way out of the country. So, she was about 30 years old with 2 young kids and had to do it on its own. And I remember a long train ride and then hiding out in the hotels for weeks. And then one night, we decided to sneak onto the bottom of the fishing boat. We waited till daybreak, and then the boat pulled out the dock. I peeked and actually saw a soldier with a machine gun about 20 feet away. So we got to Hong Kong and had to half swim my way across the water on shore. And at 8 years old, I became an illegal alien. My first home was actually a single room for 4 of us. First year in school, I almost flunked out because I couldn't speak the dialect. But I have been here for a long time now. I came here as a foreign student. And when I first came, I remember that even though I was different, nobody told me I did not belong here. Nobody told me what not to do, where not to go. So I think it's only fair that I do it for other people today. In my own company, we make sure we always include, not exclude, and we do business with other people, same thing. There's only one race, I think, so the human race. So we should be building, opening doors and not building any more walls, I hope.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Alex Padilla, and I'm proud to serve as your California Secretary of State. My parents are immigrants from Mexico. They came in the late 1960s. My father, for 40 years, worked as a short order cook, and my mother, for those same 40 years, worked cleaning houses. I was raised in a tough neighborhood at a tough time in Los Angeles, as the 1980s brought a lot of street gang activity and drug activity to all parts of the city. But I learned from my parents, watching them band together with neighbors to rid our community of violence. They taught my brother, my sister, and I that organizing and activism can produce real change in our community. My parents also emphasized education. I can't tell you how many times my father would interrupt my homework with his advice that he wanted me to one day work with my mind, not with my back. Now, I wasn't a straight A student, but I was good enough to get accepted to the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. And while it took me 4 winters to earn that mechanical engineering degree, I soon left an engineering career behind in pursuit of public service. I was elected to the Los Angeles City Council at the age of 26, became City Council President at 28, served in the California State Senate, and now I proudly serve as your California Secretary of State. I have lived the American dream, but I want to convey to the Valley today that the best algorithms that you can imagine cannot do justice in identifying the most creative and powerful talent in this valley, in our state, and in the beautiful, diverse country, the United States of America. Thank you.
I was blessed to be born in the United States. I think that means I was born on second base. If you came here with your family or through creativity and often at great risk, if you were not born in the United States, could you take a moment and stand? This is the story of our valley and America's innovation economy, and we will say it proudly everywhere. It is my pleasure to welcome to the stage such an amazing leader to present our Spirit of Silicon Valley Lifetime Achievement Award. Think of these names: Gordon Moore, Jim Morgan, Anna Eshu, Norm Mineta, John and Tasha Morgridge, Zoe Lofgren, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Art DeGius. These are but a handful of past recipients of our Spirit of Silicon Valley Lifetime Achievement Award. To present this year's recipients, please welcome the former CEO of Autodesk and Yahoo, Carol Bartz.
Thank you, Carl. I'm so happy to be here to honor and introduce to you 2 of my best friends, Suzanne and Godfrey Sullivan. I've known these people and I say these people because they are both wonderful and crazy at the same time, for about 25 years. I first met Godfrey when I was running Autodesk and asked him to join my initial team. He left a great career at Apple to come join the team and made a huge difference to us at Autodesk those 8 years. What I learned, though, that Godfrey actually had a really big supporter at home called Suzanne. You learn a lot about a person when you know their spouse. What I learned was she was really his wingman. She was the person that helped him make a difference. So he spent 11 years at Apple. Suzanne spent 18 years and hired the current head of products. He ran a 3:30 marathon. She ran 5 minutes faster and qualified for Boston. They do this crazy horse race thing, which I could never understand. 100 miles, 24 hours straight through the mountains. That's called In the Dark. I always knew when that race took place because Godfrey couldn't walk on Monday. But the important thing was Godfrey finished a lot of those, but Suzanne finished more of them and faster. So there's a theme going here. But he wasn't always on her coattails. He actually, besides his work at Apple, his work at Autodesk, CEO of Hyperion, he did an amazing job taking Splunk to a billion-dollar global brand. Also, they didn't just work and play. They did a lot for the community. Suzanne was president of the National Charity League, of the Saratoga Sports Boosters. She sat on the parent board of the University of Colorado, and she is now on the board of Peninsula Space Open Trust. All through the years, they both knew how to pay it back. They're major supporters of Opportunity International, which makes loans to women in developing countries, Room to Read that builds classrooms and libraries for girls in Vietnam and Cambodia, and closer to home, the Second Harvest Food Bank, the Turkey Trot, Silicon Valley Housing Trust, and the Peninsula Open Space Trust. Godfrey continues to pay it back by sitting on boards and helping young CEOs. And I want to make a comment here, since this session today also is about diversity and inclusion. I have seen and heard many things in my long time in Silicon Valley, many ugly things. And we're reading about a lot of those ugly things these days, about not inclusion, not fairness, but instead meanness. I will tell you, nothing's coming out. I will tell you, my friend Godfrey is honestly the most inclusive male I've ever met. From way back, not when he was told to hire women, not when he was told to hire minorities because we needed more of them, but because it's in his heart. And that's important. So, I want to again welcome you to meet this exciting, wonderful couple who have done so much for this valley, so much for women, and so much for everybody that needs help. Thank you.
Thank you. Are we good? Okay. Thank you, Carol. It's such a pleasure to have you here with us. And anyone who's been on Carol's teams over the years knows that diversity and inclusion are just the way she rolls. So, now Carl, what exactly is a Lifetime Achievement Award? Does that mean that lifetime is over? Is that the last thing you get after? Or maybe we could have a middle-aged achievement award? How about, be okay? Maybe there's still something left in the tank award. I'd go with that. Suds and I feel like we're just entering the next chapter of our lives, so maybe you could bring us back for the Back Nine of Life award. I'd come back for that one.
We do appreciate the leadership team's confidence in giving us this award. Throughout our careers, Godfrey and I have focused on awarding and recognizing the achievements of other leaders, so this is sort of a different place for us to be up here with all of you. And like many of the folks in this room, we just feel so fortunate to have been part of Silicon Valley, the birth of industries, and to have participated in changing the world through technology. And for us, it started long ago when we came across a newfangled invention at the time called VisiCalc, running on an Apple II. Probably most of you are too young to remember that. And knowing that the world was about to change. Growing up at Apple was like the best drug in town. We had the highest highs, the lowest lows, constant change, and never a dull day in the office.
So growing up with Apple was great. It was like business school on wheels, and it prepared us for a lot that came later. But working for Carol for 8 years at Autodesk also changed our lives, and she taught us most of the early valuable lessons on leadership and teamwork. Thank you.
We learned...
It's okay. Thank you.
We learned early that business is a team sport, and great teams can accomplish great things, whether in the profit or the nonprofit world. After Apple, for me, it was schools, school boards, coaching soccer, or learning how to organize parents to lean in.
Along that journey, we met some crazy, passionate people, and we dove into some extreme sports, like distance running, endurance racing on horses, and Suds, as I recall, your favorite sport was ride and tie. I liked the riding part the best, and you liked the tie part the best?
Okay, to be clear about that. It was the horse that got tied, not me.
I just couldn't make it, yeah.
So ride and tie is basically playing leapfrog with 2 runners, 1 horse, in a tough mountain race. And yes, we did a lot of ride and tie together. And what I remember most, GR, is that you were always riding a fast horse and I was running. It was these extreme equestrian and running sports that made me appreciate the trails and open spaces here in the Bay Area, and ultimately led me to get involved with Post.
So now we're getting back to the fun part, which is the recognition of all the great charitable organizations that do such impressive work here. And we've had the privilege to support Silicon Valley Housing Trust and 1199 Foundation and Second Harvest Food Bank and the like so much. Carl's Turkey Trot for all these years. So we're much more comfortable recognizing than being recognized, and 2 very special groups and people are here today that we wanted to say hello to. First, Kathy Jackson, longtime CEO who has led and transformed Second Harvest Food Bank over the last 8 years. Kathy, please stand up. Well done. And by the way, the new CEO of Second Harvest, Leslie Baca, is back in the back. Leslie, you might as well stand up because people will know where to send all their checks. There she is right there. Okay. Hi, Leslie.
And Walter Moore, the president of Peninsula Open Space Trust. Post has acquired and conserved over 70,000 acres of land here and around the Silicon Valley for public access trails, for local farms as well as wildlife corridors. I'm so honored to be part of this organization and to know Walter, and I really like you to recognize him for all the great work he does. He makes it happen.
Walter. So they're telling us our time's up, so I'd just like to say that it's our privilege to be involved with all these organizations. We appreciate very much the leadership team's confidence in recognizing us for this award. We're really proud of all of you, and we look forward to a future in the next phase, and we'll be back for that Back 9 award. Thank you, Carl. Thanks, everyone.
Godfrey and Suzanne Sullivan, thank you. We're going to ask Godfrey and Suzanne and Carol to step down from the stage so that we can take photos of the three of you together. This year's recipient of our Spirit of Silicon Valley Lifetime Achievement Award. I'm going to ask each of you to do what Delane Easton, candidate for governor, is doing now, that are in this front row, as John Cox, also candidate for governor, also did, and that's to turn those chairs around, because you're going to be pretty amazed by our onstage conversation. Yes, please swivel those chairs. If that doesn't break your stride from making your contributions to our causes today, keep doing that. Let me introduce someone whose leadership we have grown to admire so much at the leadership group. She is one of our startup CEO founders, the founder and CEO of Luminix, who will introduce our co-keynote panel, but also share for 60 seconds her own story. Welcome to the stage, Geetha Vallabhanani.
Good afternoon, everyone. Before I introduce the panel, Carl asked me if I would share my story. Here it is. I grew up on a farm in India with very limited means. My parents are particularly open-minded people, and they believed the only way they could provide happiness to their 3 daughters was to provide education. And luckily, I had enough brain cells to keep earning scholarships and finish schooling with a chemical engineering degree. After college, I wanted to stretch my wings and explore. The land of opportunity was a natural choice. As you can guess, I was a bookworm, and the literature of this land always held a special place in my heart. A resilient, self-reliant, entrepreneurial society founded by immigrants that also accepts others with open arms. It is a special place. So I packed my bags and landed here with a couple of $100. And I must say, it has been a wonderful journey. Not an easy one, mind you, but great all the same. I currently run a mobile cloud enterprise software company, and we have clients all over the world on all continents, except for the really cold one. And we didn't have electricity when I was growing up until I was 12. This is what we mean when we talk about immigrants. People with restless hearts and ambitious dreams. They contribute to their host nation with their beautifully vibrant spirits. Thank you for letting me tell my story, and let's not lose this founding story. Thank you. And now it is my pleasure to introduce the participants in our co-keynote conversation as we engage in an interactive conversation on innovation, immigration, diversity, and inclusion. We're honored to have with us 3 of California's 10 big city mayors, as well as 3 startup CEOs who will really reflect the entrepreneurial perspective. Please join me in welcoming One Concern CEO and founder Ahmad Wani, San Francisco Mayor Ed Lee, Silicon Valley Bank CEO Greg Becker, San Jose Mayor Sam Liccardo, Lark CEO Julia Hu, San Diego Mayor Kevin Faulkner, and our moderator, the editorial page editor for the San Jose Mercury News, Barbara Marshman.
Thank you, Geeta. We have a formidable panel here in intelligence and in size, so we are going to do our best here to get a discussion going. It's really a treat to have the mayors of the 3 top technology centers in California on the same stage. I didn't realize until recently that San Diego was way up there. And sometimes your competitors, you are all, for example, submitting proposals, if not precisely bids, Sam, for Amazon's new headquarters. So why don't we start with Mayor Faulkner, who is new here. Tell us what you're doing in San Diego to try to get those 50,000 jobs.
Well, thank you for having me. It's great to be back. You might have heard of 1 or 2 companies are bidding across the country. But yes, absolutely in San Diego. Now, a couple of things. I think besides from the physical location that we have, not only in downtown San Diego, and if you haven't been to San Diego and seen the tremendous transformation, particularly over the last 15 years, the urban core, the vibrancy, that is phenomenal. We also have a campus-like opportunity in Mission Valley. But I think more so than anything, what we're stressing is really, that combination that I think makes a lot of us special, which is 6 universities in San Diego, 80 research institutions. The fact that we have thousands of graduates that are coming out every year, and probably what I like to say is our special sauce, we work together. We collaborate. We have that environment in San Diego that I think makes us unique. I think that has helped grow our life sciences community, our wireless technology, all of the things that we're doing. You may have heard the climate's okay in San Diego. That's always decent, and we have some world-class craft beer. So if you put all of that together with that opportunity, that spirit, not just for Amazon, but all the other great companies that we're growing and starting up in San Diego, it's that part of our innovation economy that I think is so exciting, and we're on the cusp of great things and growing.
So you have more than one city involved in your bid, don't you?
We do.
Okay.
Yeah, we did a bid as a region, and I think that was great for us. And it's we'll see. As I said, there's just 1 or 2 cities across the country that are working on it.
Yeah. Ed, you've done a regional bid as well, San Francisco. Want to explain that and also what you've got on the table? I forgot to ask Kevin.
Thank you, Barbara. Good afternoon, everyone. Great to be here, Silicon Valley Leadership Group, and thank Carl as well. We've done the same thing as Mayor Faulkner has indicated, and certainly Sam's going to talk about it. We did do a regional proposal for HQ2 for Amazon, but we knew our limitations as a city. So we also are working regionally. In fact, our proposal involved Oakland, Fremont, Concord, and Richmond to come together with us as a region so that we can align what campus ideas Amazon might have with our transportation and where the pipeline for housing is. These days, I think all of the talent that your companies want have a big challenge, and it's about affordable housing. We know that, we feel it. I'm trying to build 30 to 50,000 new units of housing in the city, but I'm complimented with the leadership that Sam's doing on his side, and I'm also supporting Mayor Liccardo's effort to get Amazon 2 here, just in case.
Thank you. Well, Sam, you've sort of laid out your position on this in an op-ed in the Wall Street Journal. We've heard of them.
The other paper.
The other newspaper. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that approach and what San Jose is doing?
Sure, happy to tell you what we're doing, but as long as you don't tell any of the other cities. No, what I wrote in the Wall Street Journal was that while we're happy to invite Amazon to our city or to the Bay Area, we won't be offering any public subsidies. And that's because, by and large, public subsidies are a bad deal for taxpayers. Thank you. They're a bad deal for taxpayers, and I think ultimately it's a race to the bottom, and we'd like to encourage other cities to join us in that. But what we have to offer, I think, is what everyone in this room knows. I call it the 3 T's. It's talent, transportation infrastructure that we're building out now, and TANS, that is 300 days of sun a year. And that's important. So, we know we've got a lot of challenges. Ed put it well around affordable housing, certainly, but we've got the most talented workforce on the planet, and we've got transportation infrastructure that's being built out now. We just invested in an airport you heard about is now the fastest growing in the country. We're building out BART, high-speed rail, Caltrain. What's happening at Diridon Station could be transformational. So we're going to keep on making these investments for the entire community, and we think that'll be attractive to employers too.
Thank you. And just to clarify, Ed and Kevin, are you putting subsidies on the table?
Not at this point, but we've said very clearly when it comes to economic development, how we work together, those are types of things that we want to talk about. It's very early, obviously, and a lot of work to do.
Ed?
No subsidies at all. I think we are aligned with Sam as well, and we think there's enough attraction for our Bay Area, because I think when you locate the kind of talent that Amazon would like to here, you get the associations or all the other talent. And these days, innovation really is about collaboration. It's not about one company doing something unique. It's about how that uniqueness adds to the whole diverse approach to solving medical issues, health issues. So this is, I think, the greatest time in our lifetimes, I think, when innovation is helping us solve the problems of the world.
Well, speaking of that, Greg, you see all this from a different perspective. You're serving, I guess, more than half of the innovation startups in the country as a bank, and most of the venture capital companies. There was a time when it seemed like most of the startups were apps we would find were fun on our phone, and that seems to be changing to a little more of a save the world approach. Are you seeing that?
Thanks, Barbara. So we have a great vantage point to see all these companies that are doing truly innovative things. And I do believe that there's bigger ideas that are being invested in and built on. Julie and I were talking earlier, what you guys are doing at Lark, pretty amazing, where it's coming up with an AI technology to really make nursing more scalable, more effective, better information. I mean, those companies like that, doing truly amazing things. We have another client in the East Bay that's doing drone sailboats. And what they're doing is they literally have these sailboats, drone technology. They're out in the middle of the ocean, mapping the entire ocean, saving the government tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars. Or OpenGov that many places are using to help streamline governments and how they operate. So these are really big ideas that our clients are going after. And I wouldn't say not just our clients, but it's the innovation economy overall. And so that's what's exciting. We get to see that, and we get to participate in that. And clearly the Valley here is a great recipient of that.
Absolutely. And Julia, Lark had a very interesting origin, and you've really grown from there since the last time I saw you. Want to talk about that, what your original goal was and where it's taken you?
Sure. So it actually just started from my own personal childhood. I grew up with a chronic disease, and my dad really had to give up his day job to take care of me. And he spent years looking for the right care for me. Ended up finding not just a specialist, but actually a pediatrician instead, who worked with me like an uncle, over 12 years, completely changing my, diet, how I manage stress, how I manage pain, exercise. And he and my dad really were my 24/7 care team. And billions of people are like me. They have chronic diseases, and I feel so blessed. And there's just not enough nurses out there to take care of chronic patients. So we decided to get together with some brilliant AI technologists to create an AI nurse. And after 6 years of R&D, we are now the first medically reimbursed AI that can manage chronic disease patients like a live healthcare professional. So we're working with major health plans now to manage chronic disease in a much more scalable way.
That's and Ahmad, your startup is around natural disaster and how to predict it and how to respond to it. But I think folks would like to hear the story of how you were inspired to go down this path.
Okay. So I'm an earthquake engineer. Started doing that because my hometown, Kashmir, suffered this earthquake in 2005, and we lost 70,000 lives. Came to Stanford to do my master's and PhD, and between my master's and PhD, I decided to go back home to get engaged, and this was August of 2014. The day I arrived, the very next morning, we had a flood, and several dams broke, and within 15 minutes, 3 floors of our house were underwater. And me and my family were stuck on the roof of our house waiting for response. And our neighbors had a 4-storied house, so they were throwing food at us. And that's how we survived. And we saw them, we saw several homes collapse, and their bodies were recovered in other countries. We were like in that situation for 7 days, and nobody came to rescue us, and luckily we survived. Now, on the 8th day, the water receded, and we walked out to safety. Now, in those 7 days, there were so many helicopters which were going over our heads, and I was trying to understand, how do they decide who needs to be rescued? Like, they just randomly go wherever they want to, and what kind of rescue? Like, does that person have special needs, and what? So initially, I thought that problem is restricted to the developing world and to floods. Flew back here, and I realized the same problem was seen in Napa, wherein we were going after 911 calls, which were not even coming from the worst affected areas, and that is a rehearsal of an actual event, an actual earthquake which could happen. So we started interdisciplinary research at Stanford between computer science and natural hazard modeling, and now help cities prioritize in those first few minutes, how do you save the maximum lives and where should you direct response? And finally, when we started to build all these fancy algorithms and push the barriers of AI and whatnot, while we were starting to work with partners and innovators like San Francisco's Department of Emergency Management, we realized we can definitely save another life if we improve the accuracy of our algorithms, but we can definitely save hundreds of lives before the disaster by preparedness and mitigation. And that's when we realized we can help cities build focused resilience.
Have you met Sam Licardo?
We just met earlier.
We just exchanged cards a few minutes ago.
Yes. Thank you, Ahmad. That is, both of you and Julia are just amazing. The companies are amazing, and you are amazing. Looking at your company's websites, it's obviously you've developed a really diverse leadership team, executive team. A lot of companies here seem to have trouble doing this. And it always surprises us because we think we're so inclusive in Silicon Valley, but it doesn't always translate into leadership. Was this an intentional thing for you? Let's start with Julia. How did this happen?
Well, as a female Asian, I think that I really wanted to get a diverse founding team and company. I think that we all have such interesting ways to approach problems, and really luckily our company I really see is not just a straight tech company, but it's a blend of science, design, and technology. So we really tried to build a diverse population. And several of my founding team members are immigrants. My parents are immigrants who fled from China and the communist regime. And I think that we're all driven to a more idealistic state. So, yeah.
That's great. So it was purposeful. Ahmad.
Okay, so I'm an immigrant. My co-founder, Nicole, is also an immigrant. And many of the tech companies, the large tech companies which have caused these tech revolutions, their CEOs and co-founders are immigrants. But and then the other perspective is, that disaster resilience requires people from different expertise to come together, right? So we have experts from emergency management, from who have led city governments, and AI experts and hazard modelers and all these people. But I mean, to be honest, we didn't really seek out to like look for diversity or something. All we did was, to be honest, we were just looking for very smart people who believe in our vision and our mission. And that was our main goal. And we were like, we don't want to discriminate against, of course, anybody. And right now, 40% of our workforce is women and 60% are people of color. And we were just looking for the right cultural and the right skill fit.
Interesting. Greg, you deal with a lot of startups and major companies. Is it a priority for most of the folks you deal with, and how can you tell if it's a priority?
Yeah, so obviously it's getting a lot more attention, which I actually think is probably the only positive thing that is coming out of all the noise that we're hearing about. And it's just noise, it's real issues that is actually being brought up. And so I actually think that is the only positive that we can look at that comes out of that. But it is becoming much more top of mind. It's more top of mind for our clients. It's more top of mind for the investor community that we participate in and we're part of as well. And it's becoming more top of mind for us. So maybe I'll start with what we're doing. We've looked at, I guess, started about 5 years ago, and we look at just how diverse we are as a company. And in some ways, you can look at the numbers, and the numbers actually hide part of the issue. We have balanced gender diversity at the bank, so it's 50-50 male-female. But when you look at it, there's certain things that weren't actually as balanced. The higher you went up in the company, the less diverse it became. And so we started to dig into that and really start to set not short-term goals, but long-term goals that we wanted to change over time, that we actually track inside the company. We talk about it amongst all our employees so that they know what our goal is. We do unconscious bias training across the organization. We have inclusion and diversity task force. And most recently, because we believe you have to start at the earliest age and create a diverse opportunity or employment opportunities for different areas, different geographies, we're partnering with Genesis Works in Europe to bring interns into the organization at their ground level from diverse backgrounds. So my point is, it can't be just one thing. It actually has to be a broad-based solution. Now, when I think about our clients, again, they're coming up with this being more top of mind, which is a really positive thing. Now, what some of them struggle with is how they deal with that. As you said, Ahmad, they're focused on building their business. And many of them aren't focused on the diversity because some of them are really looking at how do they survive the next week, the next month. They're saying, I want the best people. They're not looking at how diverse it needs to be. So I think we have to be a little bit empathetic to the situation they're in. That being said, we all have to encourage them, to support them, to be more open-minded, to look as how important diversity is to help improve their success rate. So we need to support them in that thinking, but I also think we need to be empathetic to the situations that many of them are in.
Yeah, I would like to say, though, it's interesting that what we found is, it's really about the pipeline, like you guys both said, right? And we need to encourage the pipeline to grow in a more balanced position. And I think we've just been pretty lucky because as a female CEO, I feel like our pipeline actually ends up being, actually more female engineers are applying. So I really think that part of the pipeline situation can be solved by your company and your portfolio companies elevating females to key key public roles.
I agree. One of the things that we're supporting, and I, again, encourage more people to, there's an organization that basically helps to get women more exposure to boards, private boards as well, because most public boards, they want public board experience, and you can't get that until you actually have board experience. And so, again, I think we all have a role to play in helping improve that diversity issue that many of us are grappling with.
So there may be a little more public pressure on public agencies, on government, and let's pull our mayors back in here. Sam, it's my impression that since Susan Hammer was mayor in the 1990s, she really opened up city employment, that San Jose was pretty good at balancing and at reflecting its community. I'm wondering, since all the layoffs and rebuilding, where are we now, and how does the city look?
Yeah, we have had strong tradition, diversity in the city. We had the first elected female mayor of any major city in the country back in the 1970s, and Jan Gray Hayes, first Asian American mayor of any major city. And so we're very proud of that. As we look across the organization, among all the department heads, half are women. Leaders of the key departments, many of the key departments are people of color: police, fire, planning, parks. And so I think we know we need to do more, but I think the good news is, at least in the leadership positions, we're seeing a lot of good progress. And my own team of the 8 direct reports or so I have, they're the highest paid folks in my own mayor's office. Half are women of color. I should note, for Kevin's benefit, 3 of the 8 are Republicans, and that counts as diversity in the Bay Area. So.
So Kevin, I do think of San Diego as being a little more conservative than the Bay Area. Is there the same attention toward diversity? Is it important to
I'll
your
give
city?
Sam some more.
Yeah.
Here it is. Look, we're proud to be one of the most diverse cities in the country, 8th largest city. It's part of who we are, or particularly our relationship in our Latino community and our proximity to Mexico. And I'm going to go back to what some of our colleagues were just saying. To be successful, you do have to measure. And I think that's something that we all share. Not only with our own teams, as Sam just talked about, my own team of my 30 folks. My chief of staff is a female. Half of my folks are either female or non-white. My very first day in office, we needed to make some changes in the police department three years ago. My very first day, I hired the first female police chief in the history of San Diego, Shelley Zimmerman, who's a little biased, but I think she's one of the best chiefs in the country right now. Crime at an all-time low. And in other leadership positions, I've really made recruitment in both our police department and our fire rescue department a huge focus to make sure that we are the most diverse of those in our public safety. But back to measuring it, one of the things that we do is our Civil Service Commission puts out a report every single year that measures how are we doing in every single department. So you can manage to it, you can measure, but it says, how are we doing? And the good news is, at least for San Diego, particularly over the last 5 years, even 2 years before I was elected to mayor, we are increasing those numbers every single year in terms of diversity. So I think it has to be purposeful. I think it does have to be intentional. I think we have to measure it. But we want the best and the brightest and the most diverse city workforce. We have 11,000 in the city of San Diego that represents who we are, and that's the fabric of our city.
Neat. Ed, it's my perception, looking north, that San Francisco has a lot of pressures on it from various forces on hiring and everything else. How do you deal with all that?
Well, not only making strong efforts, I think everybody in public service realizes government is about serving the public. And when our public has a lot of immigrants, a lot of minority communities, cultural competence becomes the mandate for every civil servant. And in doing so, you got to recognize some realities. For the first time in the history of San Francisco, the majority of elected members of the Board of Supervisors are women, 6 out of 11. And the board president, she's a strong woman, London Breed. So that's a reality. 60% of my mayor's staff are women. My own election is a history in the history of San Francisco, where they used to have laws that prevented people from China from owning property. So you kind of realize this is not only history, it's cultural competence that will make an effective city government. I happen to have a number of women heading up some very important departments. One's here, Department of Emergency Management, Ann Conenberg, but I've got a city administrator, I got a fire chief, I got director of the port, I have the Department of Environment, director of public health, all female, all making sure that not only their diversity is reflected, but that the way they carry out their jobs and their duties is to impact the community in the most positive way. And these days, government is about building trust. We cannot do anything effective unless we have that trust relationship. And you got to have trust go a long ways, and I'm training all of the staff, whether they're led by female or male, that they've got to end discrimination for women across the board. We're members of the UN Convention Against All Forms of Discrimination. I remember signing that document in one of the first department heads, and I realized discrimination isn't just within the boundaries of the city. You got to figure out on these large events what entities are coming into the city like Super Bowl 50 and trying to accomplish things like human trafficking, and how to stop and intercede that, how to train hotel workers and everyone else about implicit bias, about bias up the chain. It's not just pressure. In order to be an effective government, we have to do better than even the private sector.
Great. Well, we're talking about diversity, but really the underlying issue here, particularly from a government perspective, is immigration and the role immigrants have played in making this country and this economy great, if I may say so. Ahmad, you've mentioned where you're from. What made you decide to come to America and start a business in America?
I think America is the land of opportunity, and I knew it from day one that I wanted to pursue my passion for earthquake engineering and actually solve the problem for myself, which I had seen in 2005. So that's why I really came. And when I finally came to Stanford, met my professor, it was not just limited to my initial scope, which was being an academic and teaching. But Stanford and the community there and my homestay hosts there, they pushed me. They were like, no, you can actually create a difference and save lives. And when we went to our customers or potential customers, they welcomed us with open arms, even though they had to make sense of that Python code, which we had at that point. And so everybody really welcomed us. And now we are here, and so America has been phenomenally welcoming to me.
That's wonderful. Julia, you're second-generation Chinese American, and I think your founding team includes folks born in other countries. Can you tell us about them and the difference they make in your company because of their different cultural backgrounds?
Sure. Yeah, so I mean, we have a pretty diverse engineering team and tech team and leadership team. I think we've all talked here, which is, cultural competence is really important. As a company, as we're building a global company, it was really important for us to make sure that we got representative folks with different perspectives so that we could create an AI nurse that could not only help Americans, but Latinos and Chinese people and Indians and so forth. So we brought on, we have a health committee with faculty from Harvard and Stanford of variety of race, gender, and it's really helped us create the foundational AI for a global company. So I think it makes a big difference, and I also think that internally we've tried to create policies that are just more, actually more appealing to people who are not just diverse in gender or race, but also just interests in life. So so some folks, we think creativity is huge, and so we have folks who, love dance and modern dance, and so we've created, a flexible work schedule where they can go dance in the mornings on Thursdays, or, a mother of two, even though we're a startup and we're all here until, 8 or 9 o'clock, she needs to go back at 2:30 to be with her kids. So we really try to create structural policies such that, diversity can really flourish.
So I have some bad news that Carl just delivered. We have a 2-minute warning here. Given the news of the past few weeks, I just don't think we can end a discussion of inclusion and diversity without chatting about Harvey Weinstein, Mark Halperin, Bill O'Reilly, the California State Capitol, all of the reports coming out about sexual harassment. Let me just talk to Julia for a second. Guys, you just stand down for a minute, okay? Julia, were you surprised at this outpouring?
It's really heartbreaking. When I read about, it really started with Bill Cosby, and it's sad and scary that it takes really a few really brave first voices to then allow for this more safe environment to talk about these issues.
So in your generation, which is different from my generation, do you think the problems are the same, or?
Well, so before all of this happened, I would have said, no, we've gone beyond that. And I've always been focused as as kind of a millennial feminist. I think I'm past the millennial age. So, but as a kind of newer generation feminist, I have been really focused on subconscious bias and these more subconscious issues around gender. But it's shocking to see that it's not only subconscious; it's very much fully conscious.
Would any of the gentlemen like to comment?
So I can talk about sort of what we have been thinking about this. So clearly the no tolerance or zero tolerance or whatever policy is clearly not working, right? Yeah. It's existed from a long time. So, what we decided to do, and we are a very culturally strong company. What we started with was, our cultural values are not like innovation or something. Like, they are like fully concrete values which can be measured and are commutable. You can get hired or fired if you don't adhere to that value, irrespective of your job performance. Mm-hmm. And then we wanted to somehow fix, A, the power dynamic, and B, the subconscious bias, as Julia was pointing out. And by making sure that we communicate very clearly that there is no hierarchy in the cultural team, from the culture side, there is hierarchy in the job function for efficiency. So, and then making sure that there is a very easy way for anybody in the company, whether they notice low-level dissonance or any actual event, they can communicate that to a rotating board, which can then take immediate action.
Thank you. Sam, did you want to say something?
Oh, I just was thinking, as I was hearing the discussion, it's been 26 years since Anita Hill. And you'd like to believe we've moved a little further, faster than we have. But I saw an interesting statistic in yesterday's Mercury News that 75% of HR directors are women. Obviously, in the CEO and the other C-level jobs, that is more than inverted. And it seems to me there is something fundamentally to the fact that the conversation is not always traveling well from HR to the top. And that's what we got to fix. And maybe there needs to be alternative routes. You got to go around the CEO to the board. Obviously, you need more diversity all the way up the chain.
Thank you all so much. You've been a terrific panel.
I want to thank Barbara Marshman and our panel, and please stay seated on stage. As Ben Minicucci of Alaska Airlines mentioned at the beginning, we have a special reward for one person with us today, and you must be present. To announce the winner of that drawing for 2 round-trip Alaska Airline or Virgin America Airline tickets, please welcome to the stage Vice President of Alaska Airlines, Annabelle Chang.
Hello, everyone. So everyone's a winner in here because if you take a look in your Alaska bag, you've got a discount card that can take you to Mexico, New Orleans, Palm Springs this winter. So have fun, eat your heart out. Now, here's for the fun part. Everyone take your arm, stretch it up in the air. All right, now reach under your chair, and there is one lucky winner. And if the person sitting next to you isn't there, check under their chair. All right, someone has to have it. And if you're the winner, stand up and wave.
Check your neighboring chairs.
All right, stay there. We'll come and get you. Thank you.
Awesome. As that person makes themselves to the stage, Annabelle, why don't you stay here? Annabelle, you stay here. As that person makes their direction to the stage, please join me in welcoming the Market President for Bank of America on our executive board and the treasurer of our board of directors, Raquel Gonzalez.
Thank you, Carl. We came together today to celebrate diversity and inclusion as well as innovation. But by celebrating, we're in no way implying that our work to strengthen diversity in Silicon Valley across all fronts is done. It's nowhere complete. In fact, far from it. At the leadership group, a deeper commitment to diversity drives much of the work that we do. It's most apparent in our education and workforce efforts, where we focus on cradle-to-career policies and programs. It's central to our work on affordable housing for everyone in our region. It's key to our commitment to public transit, better roads, and reduced traffic. It's essential to our work on energy and environmental improvements, and it is part of our holistic view on healthcare. It remains timeless on how we view tax policy and fairness from all levels of government. And it is core to the commitment that we have made through our Silicon Valley Leadership Group Foundation, through the Applied Materials Silicon Valley Turkey Trot, the Lamb Research Hearts and Souls Run, and our Santa Run sponsored by Google. So let's celebrate the progress that we've made, but let's stay very committed to greater and consistent progress for gender, ethnic, age, cultural, and all forms of diversity, not just today, but into the future. Our valley is more successful and sustainable when we have the wisdom to bring diverse voices and visions to the table. So before you leave today, meet a few more people. Our valley and all of us will be better for it. Thank you, and we're officially adjourned.
One more, yes, you can stay. As we adjourn, and we do encourage you to stay and linger, we want to thank 2 leaders on our team that made today possible. If you enjoyed today, please join me in thanking and recognizing Shannon Johnson and Megan White. Shannon and Megan. Are probably running around outside making sure everything is working, but we have small gifts for each of you. We're going to ask our recipients of the Spirit of Silicon Valley Lifetime Achievement Award, and Carol Bartz, to come here for our photographer, who will be joining us from across the room. Will you join me again in thanking all of our teammates at the leadership group who made today possible? friends and colleagues, thank you for making this valley and region a better place. We are adjourned.